Hello and welcome to the Subjective Space with Sindhu Rajasekaran. We have Caitlynn Bailey-Cummings today who's going to be talking to us. Hi, Caitlynn.
Hello.
I'm going to tell you a little bit about Caitlynn first. So, Caitlynn Bailey-Cummings is a travel guide, writer, mother, and founder of DOP Italian Travel. She has been traveling to Italy for 15 years and has lived in Rome, Cortona, Perugia, and Alberobello. Did I say that right?
Close.
Okay.
Alberobello.
Okay. She has traveled to 19 of the 20 Italian regions and she can't get enough. Italy has gotten under her skin and now it's her mission to share her love and knowledge with others who also might wax poetic about drinking a glass of Sagrantino while the sun slinks behind undulating Umbrian hills. Oh my God, that sounds so great. She can show you hidden gems, help customize your trip itinerary, and get you excited and prepared while you count down the days until takeoff. You're going to Italy tomorrow, aren't you, Caitlynn?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm packing.
Caitlynn has an MSc in creative writing from the University of Edinburgh and has written a novel, short fiction, poetry, and most recently a travel memoir titled Ida and I, the story of two foreign women traveling the length of Italy, 176 years apart. Wow. So, Caitlynn, let's first talk about why it's important to travel, right? I'm not talking about like the ethics of traveling in sense of the carbon emissions and stuff. I actually have a Swiss friend, family member who's never traveled anywhere. He only goes on bicycles because he feels like he doesn't want to, all of that. But can you tell me about why it's important to travel, how it can enrich our lives, and all of that? What is your point of view on this?
Yes, I guess this big ethical question to the side, which is very important with the environment and change. But in general, I found that travel, it's never a bad idea to travel. It's always a good idea. It widens your view. It shows you how there's more than one way to do things in the world in general. It humbles you. It gives you experiences. And those are the only things that you really take with you as you age are your memories and the connections you make with people and how you develop as a person. So to me, I've always personally spent my money on travel rather than material kind of collection. I'm not a minimalist by any chance or any way, but to me, travel has always been the most rewarding and enriching part, of my money spent.
I think that's a very interesting thing to say and to think about and do, right? Like that, it's not everybody's spending money on like consuming products and things and like they're just, doing that. You'd rather spend your money on experiences like actual travel where you're going to another place and it's something you take with you always. And I mean, all of us lead very busy lives, people who have office jobs, it's just like such a routine and you get caught up in the routine and it can get really to your head. So I know there is this concept called, I'm going to say it and then you can correct me after I say it because I'm sure I'm going to butcher this. Dolce Far Niente. Okay, so what does that mean? Not bad, right?
Yeah.
So I know it means something to do with slowing down. And as a person who's lived in like Mumbai and I live in Vancouver now, very fast-paced cities, everyone is just like frantic, manic, just doing this every day, all of that. And cut to Italy, you have this like idea of this romantic, very like slow paced life. Is that first of all true about Italy? And can you tell me more about why this concept and what it means?
Yeah, so Dolce Far Niente is like literally the sweetness of doing nothing, which as a concept is really about, as you say, slowing down and really being where you are, being present. So if you're in Italy, if you're lucky enough to be in Italy, you're sitting in the piazza, you're watching the people, but you're really watching the people. And you're doing that for tens of minutes. You're probably not glancing down on your phone to check other messages. You're actually being present where you are. You're drinking your coffee, you're tasting it. When you make a meal, it takes a long time. It's a lot of work, but you are there making the pasta, doing your meal prep.
Like literally rolling out the pasta, you mean?
I mean,
that,
some
right?
people, not every
Yeah.
Italian for sure.
Yeah.
And modern, Italian culture is different than traditional, but yeah, absolutely. People make their own pasta. at times. And yeah, Dolce Far Niente is about being present, being mindful, slowing down. And though it is super romantic, we romanticize Italy to no end for sure, from my point of view in North America anyway.
Yeah.
And there are total truths about that, and also like an undercurrent of, there's more to the story there. So it's
When
true that people take their
when you
time.
said, sorry, I was just going to cut in there to say, when you mentioned romanticizing it in North America, obviously Under the Tuscan Sun was like such a movie. It was so popular when I was younger. And you got married in the same town
Yeah,
where that, and I was there. So,
it worked.
and yeah, it worked. And it was just like everything I saw in the movie. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to come retire here, and like write a book about all the sad shit that happened in my life or something like that. But what is it about? What do you think it is about Italian culture? Because it's not just now, right? Like for a long time in Europe and in other parts of the world, even in Asia and South Asia, like it's been a culture that's been like sort of looked at as a very it's been romanticized. But what do you think
Mhm.
is the reason? Like what is it about the culture that is sort of laid back, or like they take more pleasure in life? Would you say that?
Absolutely. I mean, this is a cheap refrain, but they definitely don't, what is it? Live to work, work to live. Like
Hmm.
their focus is living for sure, and they'll work so they can do that. But work is not their life. Friends are their life. Food is their life. Beauty is their life. They're really like interested in beauty, and that's another total interesting topic too, because in North American culture, at least, um, I think it would be strange for someone to talk about beauty in the way that an Italian would, like in any kind of person in any strata.
Hmm.
But yeah, they are very laid back in general. Of course, it changes from region to region and person to person. You can't make a sweeping
Yeah,
generalization.
about anything, of course. Yeah. I
But
mean, you're in the subjective space. You're allowed to say everything in a
yeah,
very
okay, from my
subjective.
point of view, okay.
Yeah, from your point of view.
But yeah, I think like the food is great. The topography is gorgeous and varied. If you like mountains, there are mountains. There's sea. There's rolling hills. There's vineyards. There's like, imagine a scene you want to see, and I can show it to you in Italy for any
Yeah.
taste. So topographically, it's beautiful. The history of art and the history of just culture in general in Italy is fascinating.
Hmm.
So it's got a lot going for it. I think like it's a destination people return to and love because there's a wealth of experience there to have.
So that was my next question for you is how did you fall in love with Italy? Like how did that happen for you? Because over the last, you've said like 19 years, you've kept going
15.
back. Oh, sorry,
Don't
you're not that old.
don't age me.
Yeah. Okay. 15 years you've been going back to Italy so many times and you know so much of Italy now. But what was it like? How did you fall in love with Italy? Was it the history, the landscape? I mean, was it what you studied that led you to it, like literature and like art? I know you like art and culture.
Mhm.
So what led you to Italy?
So I'm from Alberta, Canada, and I went to the University of Alberta in Edmonton for my undergrad, and I studied classics. So I studied ancient Rome and Latin and history and culture of ancient Rome and the empire. So I had a chance to do a semester abroad in the place that I was studying all of these dead guys, unfortunately, and some girls. Uh, so I jumped at the chance to go to the actual place that I was studying. I was super excited, very eager, earnest young student. So I did an exchange in Cortona, which is the town under the Tuscan sun. And yeah, I fell in love with it. It was just the most beautiful, old, rich history I'd ever known. I'm coming from a very modern, young country in recorded history. And so going to Europe in general was like, wow. And going to Italy in specific because I was studying it. Yeah, it had a huge effect on me.
So when you went to Italy, did you speak Italian then? Could you
Mm-mm.
understand it?
No, not at all. I spoke a little Latin, which
Hmm.
is
Oh
slightly
my God.
transferable, but not really. So yeah, I took some courses there as part of the term to learn some Italian, and from then I've been off and on studying it for 15 years, and
And you
I'm
did
not
you
to
did
fluency
live.
yet, but I'm
I mean,
trying.
you are very critical of yourself, so I'm going to say to everyone listening, she can actually speak Italian very well. So, but I was just gonna say, you did go back and stay there to sort of study the language, right? Like you took a course
Hmm.
to study Italian, and you were in Italy for that. Where were you?
Hmm. So in 2009, I did this first semester abroad, and I was back a few times. And then the next big sojourn I did was in 2018. So I lived in Perugia, and I studied at the Università per Stranieri there, which is the foreigners' university. So they teach you Italian, and it was a language course for about a
Hmm.
semester as well. So yeah, I did a deep dive there with the language, and that was my apex, my most proficient that I ever was.
I think that's another question I should ask you before I ask you about DOP and like why you set it up, right? Like about the local culture itself. Like, are people, because obviously the sort of tourist culture that we have of like, we don't have a good view of tourists. And I mean, in many of these European places, they don't like tourists really because they make a mess. They're just like not respectful of the local culture. They're not trying to sort of, understand it in a way. They're just like, oh, I'm just come from wherever. Do you have this burger? Do you have that Coke? They just don't give a shit. But like, what is it about Italian culture? Do you think it's welcoming of people understanding, their ways? Do you think people are more open to that, or do you think it becomes so commercialized that it's just like you come, you go, we don't care?
You mean from the Italian perspective?
Yeah, from the Italian perspective, yeah.
No, I mean, I can't speak for other cultures, but I think with the anecdotes I hear about like people going to Paris, for instance, it's nothing like that. Like Italians are very warm, very receptive to tourists, and like kind of jaw-droppingly really want to show you their specific sites that they like in their hometown. Like they're so proud of what they do. They want to show you like their specific food products and their specific pasta and show you how it's different from every other one. And I've had like so many Italians invite me into their homes randomly, and they're just so proud and so welcoming. I think I've
Mm-hmm.
never had um, an experience where I'm off put by like, oh, get out of my country. Like it's never
Yeah.
been like that. I also have the privilege of being like white and from Canada, so I can't speak for any other
No,
tourists from other.
I was just gonna say, as a South Asian and as a person who's traveled to Italy, I've felt very welcome too.
Okay.
In especially in like Cortona, like that part
Hmm.
of this place, I really like because people are more warmer and all of that. But I remember in Florence, I did not have very good experiences in the sense there are people like sort of walking behind you saying "Bella, Bella," like
Really?
that did happen,
Mm,
but that was a bit freaky for me. But otherwise,
totally.
I think
Yeah.
I think I felt that warmth and like the welcoming thing that you mentioned too. So now
Hmm.
tell me about DOP. What led you to start that? I know you've been sort of doing things like that, not like in a very sort of structured manner, but you've been helping people who go to Italy, like giving them guidance and stuff like that. So what
Hmm.
made you start this website, and like what were you hoping to achieve through it?
So I'm a mother of three, and after my youngest was born, I really wanted to turn to like an independent pursuit again. And any moms out there might know or resonate with, wanting to claim a little space about who you were before and what your identity can be in addition to motherhood. So I thought, oh, I'm going to make a company. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do something that brings me joy. Uh, and what brings me the most joy is Italy, being in Italy or talking about Italy. So um, I I founded DOP Italian Travel. DOP, you might know if you're into Italian food, is like a set of letters that you'll see on food products. That's a guarantee that the Italian government gives, like really great artisanal food products made in a specific way in a specific place. Um, in Italian, it's denominazione d'origine protetta. So
Okay,
my
not gonna be able to say that.
just DOP. You can look for DOP,
Okay.
DOP. So I'm kind of like spinning that with my company. I'm designing original paths for travelers, but in general, it's this idea of quality, of regionality, of authenticity that I'm trying to bring to help people plan their Italy trips.
Hmm.
So yeah, I founded this company Adopt, and I help travelers get ready, plan their itineraries, and also do prep beforehand. So I'm really interested in giving people an experience in Italy that's tailored to them, because
Hmm.
not like not all tourists are the same or travelers are the same. Italy is not the same either. Italy is like extremely diverse. And I think it's really like kind of I play a little bit of a matchmaker between the traveler and the Italy that I think they would like the best, because,
Hmm.
someone who's very type A and wants things to be on time and can't handle like a little bit of, urban grunge, like maybe Central North is where you want to be. Maybe,
Hmm.
the bigger centers in the South is not. But someone who, is adventurous or likes a specific food product of the South. It's all about matchmaking experiences and people. So yeah, I help people with
That's
their
a good way to
itineraries and
put it. Matchmaking of like,
yeah.
I think that's a good way. And also what you like do is that, the language, food, wine. So, you can
Hmm.
recommend people based on like what they're interested in seeing, because some people want to go to Italy just to see the history, right? Like I would go there
Hmm.
primarily to be like, oh, well, I want to see all of this period or like something like that. And
Hmm.
maybe somebody goes for the food and just to sort of for Instagram pictures,
Hmm.
whatever you could guide them to do that. But
Hmm.
let me just pull back a bit and ask you about why, because you have this sort of travelers these days who are just sort of gonna look at a travel and living magazine and just sort of want to tick what they've seen there, right? Like they're not gonna think about it, that they're taking the time to sort of think, okay, I'm going to invest some time and think, where can I go here, like that's off the sort of beaten path, like so do something different. So
Hmm.
why do you think it's also important for travelers to actually spend some conscious time thinking, okay, I booked the tickets to go here, but I'm just not
Hmm.
going to do the, ticking the sort of boxes, but I'm going to try and make it very personalized to me because I want to get the most out of this experience. I've spent all this money, you
Hmm.
know. So why do you think it's important for people to actually explore, and what is so rich about Italy that it can offer very specific things to very specific people?
Hmm. I think it's just very rich in all of its kind of facets. So it has something for everyone, honestly. Um, History, culture, food, cycling, opera. Like it has fashion. It has a huge
Oh yeah, the
history
fashion,
in
of course, I forgot
all of
that.
these different areas. And I think the way that you can most quickly, besides hiring me, get an authentic and personalized experience is honestly interacting. Maybe it's very obvious, but interacting with an Italian person. And how do you interact with someone that's literally from there? Like learn a little language first, open the door, be polite. You don't have to know Italian entirely, but like buongiorno, per favore goes a long way. And if you endear yourself to an Italian, they will open up for you and show you like a gazillion things you will never have been able to research on your own.
Mhm.
So it's really like making these connections with people who can then open the doors to other things. So that's my
Hmm.
advice.
No, I think that's a very important thing, right? Because also you're like that when you travel to any part of the world. I remember when you came to India too, like you tried very hard to sort of understand, speak some of the language in Tamil
Hmm.
Nadu and Tamil and in Bombay and Hindi. You really tried to sort of, understand the culture and sort of open that door, like you said, so you can see
Hmm.
more of the local culture through the local sort of perspective. And I think there is a
I mean,
lot
I
of
had an
value.
incredible segue
Guide.
into Italian culture here with Sindhu. It was her
Yeah,
wedding, so it was like
yeah,
the
that is true.
best ever experience to go to in
That
Italy,
was a
or not
long
in
time ago.
India.
God, it's like that was a lot. You should visit India again now. It's changed so much,
I'm sure.
but
I'm
that was
sure.
a long time ago. But yeah, coming back to Italy, right? Like, so that's the thing. Like you were saying, that saying something like "buongiorno" goes a long way. Like in the sense that
Hmm.
somebody feels like, okay, you've put in some effort. Like you've come here and you really want to
Hmm.
know about this place. Like you really want to
Hmm.
feel this place, get a feel of this place. And that is why would you say that people who are going, should they spend some time to learn some of the language, or like, just try to speak it and just not try to push
Hmm.
English on everyone's face?
Hmm. Sure. And I mean, I know it's overwhelming. A lot of, and myself included, when I was younger, a lot of North America is monolingual. So like we're not used to just like dipping our toes into other languages. It's like
Mhm.
kind of scary. But absolutely, a few phrases, a few greetings go a long way for sure. It also makes you feel a bit more confident and
Mhm.
like you can tackle like normal everyday situations when you find them in Italy. Like you're going to need to get a coffee at some point. You're going to need to get something from the supermarket. And if you could do that with some practice beforehand, I think it just makes you less stressed out and also, yeah, bring smiles to Italians' faces. And then they'll suddenly be like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to come over for wine? So,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah.
Wait, I remember this anecdote of something that you said or wrote somewhere that I read, about, I think it's in your book that I read, uh, about, what sort of coffee to have at what point of time during the day, and you order the wrong coffee, and during the day, people are like, what the hell in Italy? Like, which coffee was that?
Yeah, there's a cappuccino rule. There are many, many rules in Italy in regards to food, and they're very strict and very important. But then also, everyone has a different perspective on them, so you'll always find someone who disagrees with this rule. So they're general rules, but yeah. So don't order a cappuccino after noon for sure. If you can try to stop yourself, because Italians are very fixated on ideas of digestion, and they think
Mm,
that milk, like, how, at least in North America, we often have like a cappuccino at the end of a meal. Oh, a big
mm.
long meal, beautiful, let's have a coffee at the end. Italians would be like, how are you going to digest that? That's going to ruin the whole like progression of the meal. Like, how are you
Yeah,
going to be
it
okay?
makes sense. Yeah.
So it's like, it's the milk component that's the issue. So they drink coffee all the time throughout the day,
Hmm.
but it's just like espresso after a
Yeah.
certain time. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. So now you tell me a little bit about writing about Italy, right? Because obviously, writing your blog, you are a writer to start off with. I should
I
say
was,
that too. The
yes, writer
podcast is,
first.
yeah. So she writes really beautifully to those who are listening about any topic, and you have this very Canadian way of writing. I think, like very
Ooh,
like
do I?
straightforward. Yeah, I think so. So anyway, when you were writing about Italy, right? Like you wrote fiction about it, non-fiction about it. You've written, your blog is also a lot of writing about Italy. Like, tell me about writing about Italy, because I know you also think now in Italian and you understand Italian, so you must be translating in your head as well when you're writing. So, what is that process like for you? Do you have fun? What's it like?
So I would say 2018-ish or 2017, I started to really think about what could be a long book like project that I could do about Italy. I love Italy so much. I
Hmm.
want to write about Italy. But it is so hard to write about Italy in an uncliched way, Sindhu. It's like,
Yeah.
it's all been done. Every single thing has been done. Under the Tuscan sun. I'm like, I can't write about fixing up a farmhouse. Don't do it. Don't do it.
That's taken away.
I can't do Eat, Pray, Love about finding yourself. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Like all these things. So I was trying to find a way into Italy. It was a little different. And I found this other woman traveler, Ida Pfeiffer, um, in the 1840s, who did this epic journey through Italy and beyond. And I thought maybe I could kind of think about Italy and traveling as a woman across generations. So, what did she see when she was doing this itinerary of hers in 1842? And what am I going to see in those same exact spots if I follow her trail in 2018? So, I wrote a travel memoir, Ida and I, and it was about my year that I spent in Italy, kind of following her tracks, and yeah, how we were two foreigners approaching a foreign country, and yeah, comparisons. And there was a little bit of a finding myself, but not too much.
Yeah. So I've read that manuscript, right? So I really enjoyed reading it, also because it's sort of there's a lot of Italian flourish in it. Like there's a lot of Italian in it. Like people are just speaking Italian. I'm like, oh, I can speak Italian. By the end of the book, I was like, oh, I know Italian. I've forgotten it now. But tell me about Ida and how, so she traveled alone, right, with another woman, you said. Or wait, was it with another woman or was she traveling
She
alone?
was just alone.
She was just alone, and it was about sort of negotiating even for her back then with all these tourist guides and tour guides and
Mm-hmm.
like people, the local people, or like even the people that from other parts of the world. So it was a lot of that you've written about in the book as well, right? And there is also the fact that she's a woman. There's the fact of gender playing into all of this, how
Mm-hmm.
she's looked at, that she's traveling by herself and like doing all of this stuff. So, what are the sort of differences that you saw between the same regions? You also traveled to different regions based on where she traveled, right? Like the same
Mm-hmm.
sort of spaces. So, what did you? How much difference did? How did the place change? Obviously, modernity has changed a lot of things, but I'm just saying, like, what are the differences you saw in the book that she wrote, and then in your own experiences of the same place? Did you think things changed, or were things the same? What was that like?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, mostly the monuments never change. So the exact, column that she was looking at, I can look at that exact column.
Yeah.
It's more about the context and like how I am different from her and how my context has changed, like, emotionally, politically, whatever.
Mm.
So yeah, I went to a lot of the same sites that she did. Some things are hard to find, lost in translation from like German to Italian to English to maybe the fountain was just demolished. So I couldn't find every single thing. But yeah, I think our reactions to things sometimes are the same, Ida's and mine. Awe, like grandeur, wow. She was going on her journey through a religious lens, so she was much more keyed into like the religious art, history, and stuff. But also, I think I was a little bit more forgiving than her. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't say she's like the Gordon Ramsay of travel guides at the time, but she was like pretty incisive. She was like, I wouldn't come here again. It's not worth my time.
All right.
Where I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Or like she sees laundry, people hanging their laundry to dry.
Yeah.
That iconic kind of scene that you see in Italy. She's like, these people are so like, why would they hang this out for everyone to see? This is so like, why would you do this? And I'm like, wow, so romantic. Look at all these things fluttering in the wind.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and yeah,
Oh,
with
that's
her
interesting.
itinerary, it was fun to go from the very north to the very south of Italy. And regionally, Italy is so diverse. Like it used to be just city-states and regions. It's a relatively new country as the Italy that we think of now.
Yeah.
So things change radically from region to region. And that's one of the amazing and interesting things about traveling Italy. You can travel to 20, 30, 40, 100 different Italies every time you go back.
I recently read a book of historical fiction set in Italy, right? Like, and it was like, say 300 years ago. And like you said, like the way they speak about people from different regions in that time, it sounds like they're foreigners, they don't even talk about them like, oh, they're all Italian, because obviously back then, the regions were so different and like the cultures are so different. So people don't necessarily, they don't consider each other the same, which is very interesting. And another thing that you said that was interesting to me is how we have changed as people. Like, it's not that the place has changed, essentially, like the fountain's still there, like, or not there, or the monument, but like how you look at everything. And even Ida would easily sort of say what she thinks, but right now we have to be politically correct, so you cannot sort of say anything like without thinking, how is this going to impact my how people see me? Can I say this? Can I say this is actually dirty? Is that okay? Yeah, stuff like that. That is interesting to me. So I want to ask you next about, like, I know, you've spoken about how you bring a piece of the place you visit back to where you actually went from, like for you, Calgary, which is home. So when you came back, how do you bring the flavors, the language, and all of that with you? I know you have an Italian au pair now. And I also know that for people who are listening, Caitlin actually does her Google Maps and everything in Italian. So you take her phone and you try to like find it. It's all in Italian. I'm like, what the hell? So it's like extra work. So let's talk about that. Like, how do you think people can carry the essence of the place they're traveling to back to where they come from? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah, for me with Italy, a lot of it is language based. So I'm always trying to improve or keep up my Italian. So yeah, I put my phone in Italian. So people tell me to go left and right in Italian, and I better figure it out or I'm going to be lost. But yeah, so language, taking that home. Also, I think a very easy and popular way to take Italy home is in its food. So you can continue to like make Italian meals or try to approximate that really amazing pasta you had in Italy. It'll never be that good, but you'll try at home, which is great. We have in Calgary some local grocers and stuff that are of Italian origin. So I go there. I try to get products from Italy to cook with, and I was, I think, pre-melancholic about leaving Italy in 2018 while I was there. So I'm like, I have to bring Italy back with me. How am I going to do this? I bought like these knobs to put on my cabinet doors in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm like, bring some ceramics home. So at least when I'm like in
and they're
a
very
winter
specific
day
to
in
that
Alberta,
yeah,
I can look at these little ceramics and remind myself of my amazing time in Italy. So, I have things like, here's a little pina I got from Alberta Bellon. I just put on my desk, I think
nice.
visual reminders and like sensory reminders are great. which brings you
Mm-hmm.
kind of back to an Italian ethos of living anyway, which is, beauty, deliciousness, slowing down, all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that also ties back into what you said in the beginning, right? About spending your money on experiences. And the thing about spending your money on not, say, refurbishing your living room and instead saying, I'm going to go all the way to Italy to do this, travel, and you bring back this tiny thing with you,
Mm-hmm.
or like this recipe maybe to
Mm-hmm.
like cook with or something like that. And that sort of stays with you when you are back. But
Mm-hmm.
but now to talking about the romance of traveling and all of that, as people with kids, it is just a
Romance is
different.
gone.
Yeah, that's done. You're just going to places where you can let the kids run, or like you have facilities, for the kids. So it's like,
I joke. There can be some romance. It's just not like
yeah,
before.
yeah, not like before. You can just hold on to that. but but yeah, tell me about that. Tell me about I mean, now that you have three kids and you're traveling with two, and it's like, how does it like yeah, what is it like traveling with kids, Caitlin? And you have a baby too.
So my husband and I, we've always traveled, and before we had kids, we're like, we're going to be those parents that just like, we're going to do it anyway. We're just going to do it. It can't be that hard. Fast forward to now. Well, it is that hard, but we're still doing it. So we're stubbornly plowing ahead. I've taken my daughter to Italy when she was 14 months, just her. And I've taken her when she was like more of a toddler, like 2, and then a 6-month-old, her little brother. And then tomorrow we're going. And currently, what ages are they? They're like 1 and 3. So I feel like
Oh
it's going
my
to be getting a bit
God.
easier now,
Yeah.
but we'll see. Every child age and era is its own thing. Um, yeah, so I have like specific tips for specific ages. If you're like a parent out there who's worried about bringing your kid abroad, it is 100% doable, but it will not be the same as it was. And there are ways
Yeah.
to make it easier on you, but change your mindset in advance. I think that helps. What about you?
Hmm.
You've traveled with kids. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, I think it's changing the mindset, right? Like you cannot do, my daughter is not going to spend 3 hours at a museum for
Exactly.
sure, unless there
Yeah.
is like a play area there or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, look at this lovely sculpture. I'm like, what's to look at it?
It's
So
historically important. Why don't you
yeah.
understand?
So
Yeah.
I think there is also value in exposing kids to things that you think are important. So you hope in the
Mm-hmm.
future at some point they'll be like, oh yeah, the recall
Mm-hmm.
value. They're like, oh yeah, I've seen this, or my parents introduced me to it.
Yeah.
But I think do you think Italy that way? Obviously, there's all that beauty, right? Because kids can. I mean, kids can enjoy that. They can enjoy the
Mm-hmm.
beaches. They can enjoy all the lovely scenery. But
Mm-hmm.
in terms of actual spaces, like how in North America you have all these places which are artsy places, but they also think about children and they have
Mm-hmm.
spaces for them to play. But in
Mm-hmm.
Italy, is that something that's common? Like you see, if you
It's a
go to
great
any.
question. I would say, from my opinion and point of view, paradoxically, it's like they think more about kids and they care more, but there
Mhm.
are less of those kind of spaces.
Oh,
So by that I mean, like, I've never received a weird look at a restaurant for bringing my crying kid in Italy. But in North America, I have absolutely had like side eyes from people like, why are you bringing your kid out? There in Italy, they're welcomed in like every part of normal life. So whatever you're doing, yeah, your kids there, of course they're there. That's fine.
mm.
But I
Mm.
wouldn't say there are as many like, kids science centers and incredible playgrounds and like kids only spaces in that way. I don't think it's as rich as in North America, but they're just kind of woven into the fabric of daily life in general and like
Mm.
welcomed. And Italians are, I mean, again, from my point of view, kind of baby crazy. Like they love a kid. I was never
Yeah.
treated so well as when I came with my daughter. They're just like, oh, they're pinching cheeks. They're like giving
Oh.
you like things. They're like, let me help you. Like the warmth is there for sure, and
Mhm.
thus it makes it easier to do things with them because people are helping you and they're not judging you in any way.
Yeah. No, I think that's really beautifully put, and that's true. I think that's totally true because I feel like in North America there is that expectation that, oh yeah, you put the kid in like a play area, like you leave them somewhere which is like a kid area, and then you have all these
Mhm,
adulting areas or whatever where you don't want any crying child, or like children will cry, children will make a fuss, children will throw a
mhm,
tantrum, right? It's like it's normal. It's like it's meant to happen, but you wanna. Yeah, so Italians have this holistic way of looking at things in a sense that yeah, all that's going to happen, and we can be talking about $1 billion deal on the side here while the kid's just doing whatever on that side. It's
mhm,
fine. I think that's a good thing for everybody to experience. I think it's
mhm,
important to like take your child everywhere with you, right? So
mhm,
your website also has a big section on how to make it easier to travel with kids to
mhm.
Italy. You have all these like what would you call it? Like, you should check out our website, people, because it's a wealth of information because
Yeah.
Caitlin has so much information. So it's a
Info
wealth
on
of
regions, tips with
yeah,
kids, anything
yeah,
that's not there, email
yeah.
me and we'll talk about it.
In fact, I will tell you to like take out more stuff from it because you've given a lot of information already, Caitlin.
But I have so
You
much
should,
more, so much more.
yeah, she has a lot of information. So, my last question for you before we wrap up this lovely conversation was to do with Italian. So, can you teach our listeners some basic Italian phrases, which even I
Hmm.
can say? I can say buongiorno for sure.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Number one.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking like, okay, I'm literally leaving tomorrow. So what am I going to say in like 36 hours? So yeah, when you meet anyone, just a respectful greeting, buongiorno.
Mhm.
If you can roll that R, that's top.
Buongiorno.
Buongiorno. Is there any like
Buongiorno.
rolled R's in Tamil or anything? Do you have that?
R. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, there is definitely a R. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Buongiorno.
buongiorno, which means
Everything is
like
like
hello,
felt very
good
hard.
day.
Like it's like very like buongiorno. Okay.
Is it? Does it feel
Next.
aggressive? It shouldn't be
Yeah,
aggressive.
it okay. No.
Or you
Okay.
can say salve. Salve is like hello, but a polite way to like greet a shopkeeper or a barista if you're going into a bar. And bars are cafes, by the way. So
Okay.
if you go into a bar, it's not like
Okay.
you're like at like 9 a.m. It's just like your
Okay.
coffee shop. So
Okay.
yeah, buongiorno, salve. If you're ever asking for something, even in English, just like end it with a per favore,
What's a
which
per
is
favore?
per favore means please.
Okay.
Per
Per
favore.
favore. Yeah. Okay.
Grazie. Grazie means thank you.
Yeah. Grazie is a good one.
Hmm.
Grazie. Yeah. Okay.
And what else? A very
How do you say
you
I'm lost? I need
I'm
help.
lost. You're not going to get lost. Everyone has their phone now. They don't get lost.
That is true.
You can
That
say
is
mi
true.
sono
What if my
persa.
phone dies, which has happened to me many times?
Aiuto. Aiuto means help, but you're
Okay,
thinking like
I
worst case scenario. You're never going to need aiuto. Aiuto. Um, you will need things like vorrei, which means I would like, because you're going to
okay.
want stuff all the time. You're going to want a cappuccino all the time, but not after 12.
Yeah.
You're going to want pastries and pastas and all the foods. So vorrei is like a nice, polite way of saying I would like. Vorrei
Mm.
spaghetti
Vorrei.
or something.
Okay. Okay, that's nice. Hmm.
Yeah.
What else is like a very common thing that you might need to? I mean, but people understand all sorts of things like in English, like basic words like where's the toilet, or
mm,
where is the office, or how do
Bagno.
you?
Bagno
Ba-
is bathroom.
Bagno.
Dove
Okay,
è il
right.
bagno? Where is the
Ba-
bathroom?
Yeah, this is another thing, right? Like when you're like used to traveling in, say, like in North America, where like signs everywhere for all of these things, and then in
Mm-hmm.
Italy, you're sort of like, where do I go find this? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and even if there's a sign that's in Italian, or like, what do you do? So,
I'd say Italians are very welcoming and they will muddle through language exchanges with you for sure.
okay,
They will try to help you get your needs met, even if they don't speak English. And a lot
yeah.
of Italians do, honestly,
Mm,
especially
mm,
young Italians, and especially
mm-hmm,
in bigger cities.
mm-hmm. So I think I did not say this in my list of questions I said I was going to ask you, but I think now that I thought of it, I'll ask you. It's a very simple question.
That's okay.
I was just going to ask you about your favorite region because, you've been
Mm,
to so many regions in Italy. what would you say is your favorite region and why?
Ooh, it's so hard, Sindhu. It's like, yeah, you can't pick a favorite kid, you can't pick a favorite region. But this trip, I'm really excited to spend some time in Puglia,
Mhm,
which, if you're imagining Italy as a boot, it's the heel. So in the south, it has a lot of coastline, as you imagine the heel to have.
mhm, mhm,
And I'm excited to go because I haven't been in a while. I used to live there in Alberobello, and it's just super relaxed, very beautiful, very delicious, lots of coastline, beaches, seafood. And if you know a bit about Italian architecture, they have trulli there, which are these kind of conical, very strange and beautiful houses that are very particular to the region in a specific microregion in Puglia. And yeah, I'm excited to bring my family there, and also my extended family with some other kiddos are coming too. So it's their first
mhm.
time abroad and in
Oh,
Italy.
nice.
So we get to
Yeah.
show them all the stuff, all the delicious
Hmm.
food, and take some very cold swims in the ocean because it is only spring, but we're Canadian, so we're
Yeah.
just going to do it anyway.
Yeah. Oh my God. Tell me about it. Like I have been getting doing ice baths, and I'm like, what the hell's happening to me? Who
Wow.
am I? It's like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm getting acclimatized. But that's another question I wanted to ask, right? About what is a good time to travel to Italy? Like, if you're like a very outdoorsy person, you want to just go
Hmm.
out there and see the, history and like coastlines or whatever you want to see. What is a good time?
So I would always say, unless you really like it hot, avoid the summer. And I know it's hard
Mhm.
because a lot of people have vacations in the summer. You can do it,
Yeah.
but like climate change is real, and the temperatures are creeping up to, not creeping, they are going up very swiftly
Mm.
to untenable levels. So I would always say try to find a shoulder season. I love particularly the fall because there's
Mm.
also a lot of harvests happening there. So if you want to catch like grape harvest or an olive harvest, try the fall. So like October is great, and
Mhm.
also the sea has still warmed up, so you can probably have a nice warm-ish swim. If you're there before the summer, it's a little bit cooler, but yeah. So I'm going in the spring this time.
Mhm.
Every season has its advantages for sure. Even like winter, like Christmas time,
Mhm.
no one thinks, not no one. Many people don't think of Italy as a kind of Christmas winter season
Yeah.
destination, but like, there are some beautiful and very interesting festivities that happen during that time. So,
Hmm. I remember when I'd come to Cortona for your wedding, they'd had this huge procession, some from the church,
mhm,
and it was like so lovely because it felt like it was happening, say, 200 years ago. They're like carrying
mhm,
stuff, and there was all
mhm,
that happening. So they are very religious, so Christmas must be fun. Like there must
mhm,
be some stuff which is very traditional, and all of those things that must be visually beautiful to see.
for sure. And I think whenever you go, there are ways that you can check what different festivals, religious festivals or otherwise, that are happening. So you can catch them if you go to specific towns. And that's always a really cool experience because you get to
Yeah.
see the town like in their most excited time, doing, their rituals or what they love, or their, festival to the artichoke or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you get to see a real party.
Tell me, I remember this was something that I saw in Under the Tuscan Sun, right? Like she spends a lot of time in the piazza, and there is a space where she sort of describes the piazza. And when I came to Cortona and hanging out at that piazza sort of place that we have there, and I was like, I saw literally what she said. So you describe a piazza from
What did you
like,
see happen? Was there like
no, just
scandal on the
like
piazza or just normal piazza stuff?
just normal stuff, just like seeing nuns just hanging out having fun,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
so
yeah.
common. It's like you think of nuns like, oh, they have to be in the church or like whatever, but they're
No,
just
they're
hanging
having a
out having,
gelato. Yeah.
yeah, they're just having fun. And then you see tourists who speak no Italian, like just have these maps or whatever.
Hmm.
And you see local kids. It's just a flavor of all of these different things. So you
Totally.
describe a piazza, and then that'll be like an image that we part with.
Sure. Absolutely. When you go to Italy, park yourself on a piazza, ideally with some sort of drink so you can be, just relaxed watching. And yeah, one of my favorite piazzas to be in is in Rome, in the neighborhood of Testaccio. You can go to a bar on one side, and they'll like bring out your Aperol spritz or whatever and some snacks for you on the bench on the piazza, and you can just sit there and you watch the kids like playing soccer, hitting the ball to the fountain. You're like, oh no, that looks like a very antique fountain. Don't hit the ball. But they're doing it. They're living life. the moms are chasing after them, and the older folks are sitting on the benches. They're like coming together, seeing each other after the day, and it's just, I mean, it seems very quotidian. It is. It's like normal life, but it's beautiful,
Yeah.
and people are slow, and they're talking to one another, and you just see these little vignettes of daily life.
Yeah. Dolce Far Niente, right?
Dolce far
Yeah.
niente. Sì.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm so jealous you're going to Italy tomorrow.
I know. It's going
This
to be
is
great.
how long are you going this time?
About 3 and a bit weeks.
Okay, that's quite a long time, and you'll
Yeah.
really experience and really calm down and slow down. And
Hmm.
gosh, okay, this has been great. So thanks, Caitlin, for talking to me for all this time about all of these things. And
My
so,
pleasure.
Kate, please, everybody, check out Caitlin's DOP website. Can you say the full name again?
Yes. dopitaliantravel.com.
Okay, and
DOP.
what is the thing that you said again? DOP stands for the abbreviation. What is it?
For me, it's designing original paths through
Okay,
Italy
okay,
for
okay.
thoughtful
Oh,
travelers. And in
yeah.
Italy, it's denominazione d'origine protetta. So if you ever see DOP on a cheese or something or meat,
Mm-hmm.
you should buy it. It's going to be good.
So I also put my stamp on Caitlin saying that she's very authentic and this if you get in touch with her for your Italian travel, this is going to be a great experience. So thank you
Thanks,
so
Sindhu.
much, Caitlin.
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna okay.
Ciao.